In electronic music, why do some basses feel weak and forgettable, while others feel powerful and unique? Over 20 years of releasing D&B and bass music, I've picked up a ton of tricks that pro producers use to give their low end something special. So today I'm bringing you 5 ways to make your bass hit different. Okay, this first tip is the difference between a bass that just sits there and one that punches you in the chest in unique ways. The kick from the TR-808 drum machine has a thunderous knock and boom that's iconic. 808s hit so hard because of their pitch drop at the start. Every note's attack has this percussive thump like a built-in kick. And you can add this same punch to any bass that needs it. Add a tiny pitch envelope to the start of each note. Just a quick downward sweep over a few milliseconds will help it punch and cut through. Synths and samplers let you do this with pitch envelope controls. The key is subtlety. You want to feel the bump more than hear it. Go too far and your bass sounds like a cartoon laser gun. Or you can add this pitch bump to any audio with Shaperbox. Add pitch shaper, then draw in a punchy envelope shape for precise control over the pitch of each note. And to make your bass really hit different, experiment with different pitch shapes. Bends, wobbles, and twists will set your low end apart from boring flat pitches. Next, tip 2 is what I call the blowtorch. If you like filthy, gritty bass, this will make your sub or 808 slice through the mix. So you know when a chef uses a mini blowtorch to crisp up a creme brulee for that final layer of crunch on top? Well, you can do the same thing with bass. A plain sub has power, but the notes can be hard to distinguish. So to help the bass cut through, layer some noise on top. The basic method is to use a synth's noise oscillator to blend in some grit. But now I want to show you something clever. Here I've got Shaperbox's Noise Shaper. This layers looping noise based on the incoming signal's amplitude, controlled by the envelope follower. This is a good start, but it feels one-dimensional, like 2 separate layers sitting on top of each other. We want the bass and noise to grind together to interact, so they feel like one snarling unit. So here's the source. Turn all the envelope follower settings down to minimum. Now the noise closely follows the bass's actual wave cycles, giving this reactive crunch and glue. And we can push it further. I'll add Drive Shaper and use the envelope follower to push the drive in response to the incoming amplitude. So rather than static distortion, it breathes with the bass. And for more flair, we can try different noise samples to make unique textures. So a crispy layer of noise adds grit, presence, and texture that helps bass cut through and helps your ear latch on to the sub. And if this is too much for you, you can back everything off and use it subtly, just for a dash of noisy analog flavour. Next, tip 3 is a powerful way to make a twisting, moving bass that's unique to your track. A classic trick is to layer 2 different bass patches, a sub for low-end weight and a mid-range layer for character. But using 2 different patches can sound disjointed. For more synergy, try the classic jungle and drum and bass method of generating your mid-range layer from your sub bass. Here I've got an 808. It's fat and deep with a bit of cymbal in the sample. But it isn't interesting enough in the mids to carry the tune. so I've made a copy of this bass. And here I've got this EQ high passing at just under 200 Hz to cut out all the bass frequencies, so this track will be all mids and treble. Then I've added effects before the EQ. So the classic mid-bass recipe is distortion first to add meaty harmonics, then a filter second so the filter can chew on that meat and add tasty movement. So I've got drive first. And then a filter after. I've drawn a filter pattern that moves with the groove. It's talking in sync with the rhythm. Getting these animalistic rhythms to groove is key to making bass lines that feel unique. Then I've got other effects to accentuate that, a bit of noise before the drive and some compression and volume after. Then after Shaperbox, there's some OTT and stereo widening to pump up those mids. And experimenting with weirder effects will make your mid-bass feel special. Here I've got Pitch Shaper at the very start of the chain, and I'm automating mix to blend in an octave up version of itself by different amounts through the track. So the end result, all the power of the original sub, plus a moving textured mid-range layer that continually talks and changes. This next tip's nothing to do with plugins. Play your bass on the wrong notes, and no amount of processing will save it. The sweet spot for sub bass is roughly between low D and G, or thereabouts. These notes have the most weight and impact on the majority of subwoofers and sound systems. Notes below this range can sound flappy and too low, and many sound systems won't reproduce the fundamental pitch at all. Notes higher than this range start to sound more boomy and honky. Now, of course, many tracks hit lower or higher than this and sound great. You don't have to stick to these notes religiously, but if you make a genre where sub-weight matters, hitting notes in that zone at least some of the time will satisfy the majority of low-end lovers. And to help you do that, here are some pointers. First, if you're in the early stages of making a track and you're not getting the impact and weight you want, consider transposing the entire track to a higher or lower key. Second, if your bass follows chord changes, try to land on those optimal notes at least some of the time. This might mean landing on a note other than the root of the chord, like the third or fifth. And third, don't forget pitch bends and envelopes. Making a note bend down to a deeper range can be just enough to tickle those optimal areas, even when your root key is higher. And a single bass note bending through many pitches feels extra satisfying on a system. So yeah, hitting optimal bass notes is not mandatory, but it's one of those things that separates tracks that rattle speakers from those that don't. Next, here's the difference between a bass that sounds like a boring preset and one that sounds alive and breathing. Static processing, where distortion, filtering, or effects hit the signal the same way every time, sounds flat and mechanical. Your ear gets used to it fast. But if you make the processing react to the signal or other signals in the mix, everything comes to life. People talk about gluing a mix with reverb, compression, or mix effects, but making sounds react and interact with each other is a powerful type of compositional glue that rarely gets talked about. So here I've got a bass playing this sparse pattern. And then I've got a group with all my percussion and synths. And I've loaded Shaperbox on this group. You can see here that I've routed the bass into Shaperbox's sidechain input. And now in Drive Shaper, here in the envelope follower, I've activated the external sidechain input. And as I turn up the amount, you'll see that the bass is triggering distortion on this group. Now I'm going to back this off and play it in the full mix. Notice the crunchy rhythm it's adding. So the distortion breathes with the performance. It creates this togetherness that makes the groove feel as one. And using the bass as a trigger again, here I've got Filter Shaper taking out a bit of high end only when the bass plays. And to get creative, I'm also using the bass to mix in some reverb. And then I've got sample rate reduction responding to the bass signal. So making your bass do stuff to other parts will make your low end feel omnipresent, like a character that has influence over everything else. To explore all these techniques from this video, try or buy our award-winning Shaperbox plugin at Cableguys.com. And if you want to find out how to make your drums hit different, go and watch this video next.